Good evening from the other city, Cape Town, folks. This is Chris. You know, at times I've grown frustrated with my own government over the past 18 months with this South African refugee program, the opaque nature of it. Look, USCIS doesn't have to prove anybody to come to America. And as I've told people many, many times, the normal progression is months or even years for refugees. And many South Africans have moved through this program. In fact, all of them moved through this program much faster than that. The longest people have waited is a little over a year, or about 18 months for a few people who've gone over recently. So that's not what this video is about. But what this video is about is that this is in-country refugee resettlement. It's a lot different than people living in a camp in Kenya. In order to get to the interviews, which are done primarily in Pretoria or Johannesburg, with some done in Cape Town, or to get to medicals, South Africans have to travel hundreds, if not a few thousand miles in each direction. Now, flying is expensive, especially if you have to bring 3 or 4 kids with you for the interview. There's a difference between a dumb decision and a tough choice. Many South Africans over the past year and a half have made tough choices in order to finance paying for their passports because they can't get employment because of racist laws against them. They've sold cars. They've sold their belongings. Plan. They made a plan. They went for the interviews. Some of them have been approved and been waiting months to fly out. At some point, someone in the U.S. administration needs to take a close look at what is happening. There are some refugee aspirants who've been driven into poverty as a consequence of applying for a program that has given them no timeline as to when they may or may not come over. And to me, frankly, that's unconscionable. RSC gives people the boilerplate answer. You get an email, it's a boilerplate answer. Be prepared to leave in 2 to 4 weeks. But many people don't leave that time frame. And while that's understandable, for someone who was approved in November of last year, and here we sit in August of this year, and they haven't got an update, yet in order to pay for their travel to Pretoria last year, they had to sell their automobile. Other people who sold their belongings to travel up there, living in a squatter camp now. Those are tough choices, not dumb decisions, tough choices. They risked it all, and that was their prerogative. But you have to have empathy for people who didn't make dumb decisions, but made tough choices. What I don't have empathy for is U.S. officials leaving people in the dark for such a long period of time without any clear indication as to what's happening. Some of these people have been waiting so long that they're expecting they may be receiving ineligibility letters. What then? I frequently talk about bad decisions, and I've castigated people for making bad decisions, jumping the gun. But finding a way to finance your travel to be interviewed hundreds or 1,000 miles plus away isn't a bad decision. Maybe you make some bad decisions, but the people I've spoken to over the past 2 weeks here in South Africa, some who have been in this very situation, in my view, haven't made bad decisions. They've made tough choices. And that shouldn't get them through the program any faster. But one has to begin to wonder, what exactly is the timeline here? Because we're seeing all sorts of different timelines. And my government, our government, owes people a reasonable answer to these questions. At least that's my take on it. What say you, South Africa, Mzansi? Reporting from Cape Town, Mother City, this is Chris.